After almost 5 years, the battle between Epic and Apple is finally over. Kinda. Maybe. There's been developments. It's Sunday, so let's get sensational. I'm Mike, and I'm back to talk about the gaming news. Just like Fortnite is finally back on the iPhone after almost 5 years. A few weeks ago, the courts basically ruled that Apple had to allow links to third-party payment methods, and they couldn't collect revenue from those payments, and Epic was like, cool, we're gonna bring Fortnite back to the iPhone next week. But Apple was trying to hold off on approving Fortnite's App Store return until the courts heard the argument for their partial stay. So last week, Epic complained to the courts about Apple not following the orders, and the judge basically asked Apple what authority they have to ignore the court's orders, and if they didn't follow the orders, that they would need to appear back in court and explain why they're not doing it. So after that whole fiasco, Apple finally approved Fortnite's iPhone app in the US on May 21st, and of course, without it officially being on the iPhone in almost 5 years, it's now topping the top free games chart on the iOS App Store, which prompted Epic CEO Tim Sweeney to tweet, "We back, fam." Let's just never say that again. So Fortnite is back on the iPhone for now, but Apple is appealing that decision, so that could change in the future. But there is one company that's siding with Epic now to hopefully make sure that it doesn't change, and that's Microsoft. So I completely forgot that Microsoft announced last year that they were going to do their own mobile app store that was supposed to launch in the summer of last year, so basically a year ago, but it never did. Well, Microsoft is claiming that their App Store never launched because of Apple's strict App Store rules, and they filed a legal brief in support of Epic to try and help them when Apple appeals the decision. Because obviously this is beneficial not only for their App Store, but for the Xbox app. They weren't selling games through the Xbox app before because they didn't want to have to give Apple a cut of that revenue. So in reality, the Epic versus Apple thing is probably far from being over, but Epic got what they wanted for now, and Microsoft seems to be piggybacking off of that. But while Epic versus Apple isn't officially over, Microsoft is finally done with the FTC. So I covered this story a couple of weeks ago, but the FTC was trying to appeal the Microsoft Activision buyout and basically break them up, but the appeal failed. Well, now the FTC has come out and said they're officially giving up. So the FTC will make no further attempts to challenge the buyout, which means that Microsoft now officially owns Activision Blizzard, even though realistically this deal closed in 2023 and everyone had already moved on except for the FTC. Just like SteamOS has finally moved on from being married to the Steam Deck and is making its way to other handhelds. So it's been a while since we talked about the Steam Deck or SteamOS, but the SteamOS version of Lenovo's Legion Go S is about to release soon, and with that, Valve has released a new update for SteamOS version 3.7.8, which brings better compatibility to other AMD devices in general, including the original Lenovo Legion Go, the ROG Ally, and it adds official compatibility for the Legion Go S. There are a bunch of other useful things in the update, like an 80% battery limit option, which was previously only in the beta releases, and better compatibility with Bluetooth controllers. So yeah, this is a pretty substantial update for SteamOS, not only for compatibility, but just for some quality of life changes, and it makes sense with another SteamOS device officially coming out soon. Personally, I mainly use my ROG Ally, which just runs Windows 11. I'm waiting for official dual boot support from Valve, and then I'll finally install SteamOS on it because it would be nice to have, especially for travel. I know there are currently ways to dual boot SteamOS and Windows, but just not anything official from Valve. I believe one of the developers from Valve mentioned last year that they were still working on dual boot support, but it's not a high priority. They're mainly focused on making sure that SteamOS is stable, so it's probably not coming for a while. But you know what is a high priority? Nintendo making sure they got enough Switch 2s for everybody. And that's what we're talking about today. And a fun story. So after the whole Switch 2 pre-order fiasco where Nintendo underestimated how popular the console was going to be, they're allegedly adjusting their forecasts on how many systems they think they'll sell. So originally they thought that they would sell 15 million by the end of their current fiscal year, which ends in March 2026, but now they're increasing that number to 20 million. It's also being reported that they're going to Samsung to manufacture the custom NVIDIA chips for the Switch 2 because they have the capacity to handle the demand. It's also rumored that Samsung is pushing for Nintendo to use their OLED panels if they decide to do an OLED refresh this generation, which they probably will. So hopefully with them upping the production numbers, the Switch 2 won't be hard to find for too long. In fact, you may be able to find one in stores on launch day. So some retailers, namely GameStop, Target, and Best Buy, have started teasing that they'll have limited inventory on launch day. GameStop and Best Buy are teasing that they'll have consoles available at the midnight launches, and it's being reported that some Target locations will have 30 to 100 Switch 2 consoles available on launch day for people without pre-orders. So if you want to go out on launch day and risk getting trampled, there might be a small chance of getting a Switch 2. But let me know how you fared in the Switch 2 pre-order lottery down below. Were you able to get a pre-order? And if not, are you considering taking the fight to somebody on launch day in person? Again, let me know down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification button wherever it is to be notified when I drop a video or a live stream. And always do at least 2 things at the same time.